Hello and welcome to this Contact webinar. If there is a technical hitch, please do bear with us, and those of you joining by PC, laptop, tablet or smartphone should now be able to see this introduction slide. As there are so many attendees, it is not practical for verbal questions to be taken. Therefore, you will all remain muted throughout. If at any point you have any questions, please use the question icon on your GoToWebinar toolbar on your screen as is shown on this slide. This will allow you to type your question into the text box and submit this to the webinar administrator, who will select as many relevant questions to answer as time allows. If similar questions are received, I will condense these where possible. Further relevant questions not covered in the time allowed will be answered and posted on the Contact website, along with a recording of this webinar, details of which will be circulated next week. At the end of the webinar, a short questionnaire will launch. Please take time to complete this, as this will assist with future online training events. So hello, I'm Adele, mum to Christopher, who has severe learning disabilities. Here's my reason as to what got me into support groups some 24 years ago. I've been involved in support groups all my life, operating from both sides, either running one or just turning up. Support groups for me have been a place of sanctuary, a place of information, and a place to just be me. It's a privilege to be working in the role I do as support groups manager here at Contact. It's no mean feat to run a group, and we at Contact have developed some great training and resources along the way. I am the biggest fan of the support group. I'm grateful for those out there that put their time and energies, generally for free, to support parents like us. Those that do run groups have a passion to support and help us parents, and I know that those group leaders are some of our best allies to engage with within our forums, to reach out to those parents we all wish to help. There are lots of groups out there, and parents will attend for a variety of reasons, and we will look at this, at the who's and the whys, a little further on. I may have even met some of you along the way in a regroup workshop, and we will touch base on these workshops later in the webinar. I'm here now with Tina and Ruth from the Somerset Parent Carer Forum. I was alerted to the way they work with support groups by a chance conversation some years ago. We were discussing a concern we both had on the sustainability of groups and how so many groups are folding. And one of those reasons for this was due to public liability costs. Tina and Ruth went on to tell me how they'd found a way of supporting groups in this regard, and will be showing you some great examples of how to work in partnership with the support groups in your area. So let's now hear from Tina and Ruth.
Hi, I'm Tina Emery, and I became involved in Somerset Parent Carer Forum nearly 4 years ago now. Back then, I didn't even think I was a parent carer. I probably didn't actually know what one was, if I was honest. And over the years, I've visited lots of support groups, mainly to offload. I like a group that's informal, relaxed, with coffee and cake. Love cake.
Hi, I'm Ruth Hobbs, and I became involved with the forum about 3.5 years ago, thanks to Tina. I have 2 boys, both with additional needs, and I'm a parent who actually has found it really hard to get to support groups because of working. Unlike Tina, I actually prefer online groups so that I can dip in and out as it suits me. My time with the forum has highlighted to me, though, that we really need to be flexible because one size definitely doesn't fit everybody.
Well, let's give you a bit of background history. We took over Somerset Parent Carer Forum, which was ailing, with 6 core representatives, doing everything from being members on steering groups, day-to-day running of the forum, hosting events, coffee mornings, meetings to build up our representation, and our forum capacity, of which then was just 260 members.
We realised really quickly that we needed to expand our membership and to develop the forum into something that our members actually wanted. It had to be quick and an effective way of building capacity, as time and resources were really precious. So how were we going to do that? Well, first of all, we embarked on a scoping exercise on what already existed in Somerset, and then we made a plan as to how we were going to move forward and how we could work with that plan.
So let's see what the webinar holds for us today and have a look at the agenda. Support groups. We'll look at what they're all about and what makes them work or not, as the case may be. Working together, co-production at its finest. Some of you will have attended the Parent Participation Annual Conference in Manchester last November, and co-production was never so loud. We will talk about co-production and how support groups and forums are a great fit when it comes to partnership working. Finding your way, just one of the models that the Somerset Forum has devised in working with support groups. We will look at how support groups and forums can work together to strengthen and sustain and support each other's work locally, and how this partnership working feeds into the bigger picture at regional and national levels. Finding your support groups. Are you sitting pretty waiting for parent groups to show their allegiance? What does your outreach and engagement strategy look like? We will look at the positive benefits that support groups can bring to forums and how to engage in a meaningful way. Regroup workshops, a workshop for working together and understanding what's in your area. Here you'll gain an overview of the range of support groups and what their members looks like and how to identify where those gaps are. So then let's have a look as to what a parent support group is generally and what a parent carer forum isn't. We certainly know that parents can get the two confused. So what is a parent support group? Well, here at Contact, we started life as a self-help group for parents, and from our 30 years experience as an organisation, we know that parents can be the best support for one another. The parent support group offers mutual support and will generally offer friendship. Certainly I hear that some of the best friendships are made through peer support with parents like us. It gives opportunities to socialise and be ourselves, knowing we are not judged and can just be. It's a place of sanctuary. And who better to ask than other parents for advice on benefits, for example? What better place to get information on as to what is going on locally and nationally than from the diversity of parents we meet at our support groups? We all have our own unique strengths and experiences to share. Emotionally and morally, the support group can be that go-to for some who need a listening ear from those that understand us the most. It's a two-way street here, though, and one of the best arenas for one-to-one support. We can feel safe and reassured knowing that there is a constant place for us to congregate and meet. Groups can range from a coffee and chat in a very informal setting, or can be a little bit more and offer activities such as a creche for siblings or family days out. Most parent support groups are parent-led, whilst a few can have a professional at the helm. Local groups vary in terms of the type of service they offer and can be open to parents and carers of children with any disability. Others are for parents whose children have the same condition. Some condition-specific groups work very well, such as those with Down syndrome, where parents discuss medical issues that go along with that particular condition. Some groups are what is known as pan disability, encompassing any condition, whether diagnosed or not. Whether via social media or face-to-face, the beauty of my job is that we can map and see what choices are out there for parents in their area. So this is a regular type of support group we see and work with within Contact, and that run and operate throughout the whole of the UK. Some groups do have a campaign side to them too, and we would encourage them to feed their views to us here at Contact. For your interest, here are some of the challenges that support groups can face, and the reason I'm highlighting this is that it might sound familiar to those of you that run a forum. So challenges that groups can face. Having no aim or objective. What we mean is not having any real direction as to where the groups are going, a sort of winging it and seeing what happens. It's always good to have a purpose as to why you are doing what you are doing and being clear about the objectives, the aims and the boundaries that come with this. Another sticking point is having poor publicity. This is a classic challenge if not put to best use for best effect. There are so many ways of publicising yourself today. Long gone are the days of putting up a poster in a library and hoping everyone sees it. We have social media, newsletters and good old-fashioned word of mouth, so tell everybody about yourselves. The challenge is resting on your laurels and not investing time in revisiting your publicity drive and assuming everyone is seeing that soul and lonely poster you've got up in the library. Lack of take-up, no one's coming to your group. This is the most common issue I come across in groups, and it can be sometimes very easy to identify why when you start asking questions and seeing what the barriers are. It can be about having a venue that's inaccessible. Maybe there's already a well-established group around the corner. Publicity could be ill thought out, or you're simply too impatient and expecting the charge of parents. You know you are there, so why doesn't everyone else? A good question to ask yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day after all, and groups do need time to establish, just like forums. These are just a few examples of some of the issues of running a group. What I will add at this juncture is that we at Contact have created a suite of guides from developing your group to attracting members and running a family day. We have 12 titles with comprehensive detail through years of experience and evidence gathering, and the titles will be listed at the end of this webinar. So not meeting the needs, what do we mean by this? If what you're offering does not appeal to parents, or they do not see the value of or how it will benefit them or their family, then I would certainly say that this is a barrier to reaching them. Equally, if whatever you are trying to do, for example, such as a survey on how the continence service affects families, if it's not relevant to them, you naturally won't get the feedback you are looking for. Sometimes parents will dip in and out of groups when the cause fits. Some families simply can't be involved or do not want to engage for many reasons on many levels. Hard to reach. I can run a workshop on this topic alone. I have a non-exhaustive list of who are deemed as hard to reach. So just what do we mean by hard to reach? Here are just a few examples. Being in denial of a child's disability. Some parents do not acknowledge their child has a disability or additional need, and this can be quite challenging. Second language is a barrier as well. Rural living, the implications that this can bring. Working parents, particularly parents who cannot attend events during the day. Mainstream schools not having access to specialist information. Technophobes, those parents that don't have an access to specialist information or a computer. The list is non-exhaustive, like I said, and I could just keep reeling out a list of hard to reach. But I'll go on to the next point. Only one person doing all the work. This is common when someone first sets up a group. It can take time and encouragement to work on getting a team together and finding out people's strengths. I was always the meter and greeter at support groups, whilst another parent soon took on the responsibility of making those coffees and offering her handkerchief. One person doing all the work is different to above, so take note. One person doing all the work is affectionately known as gatekeeping. Some leaders of support groups, and a bit like forums, can have a strong chairperson who gatekeeps. And what we mean by that is a person who decides what is best for the group without conferring with other members. Most, in my experience, however, will disseminate information with their members, and you will soon discover very quickly when this doesn't happen. Managing personalities. This might sound familiar to some of you. Grappling with different parents and all their needs can be a tricky one when running a group, particularly where emotions can run high. I found that ground rules are a great code of conduct. It can help diffuse situations if rules are displayed. Having no funds is a challenge, or it can be a challenge if you only really do need funds. If a coffee and chat is what you're offering, then what do you need funds for? This is a common misconception for people when setting out, thinking that they actually need some funds. However, if a group does need some funding, there are lots of things to explore. So we've looked at what a support group can offer and what issues can arise from running one. Now let's look at the same of parent-carer forums and hand over to Tina and Ruth.
Okay, so let's just take a look at what the parent-carer forum is, because I think that there's 152 of us across England, thanks to send reforms and things like that. So it's a collective of parent carers working in partnership with the local statutory and voluntary agencies to ensure services meet the needs of families. It covers all disabilities from 0 to 25 years. It should have a wide membership of parent carers, so different conditions, different backgrounds, different, families that will link together and, link to support groups and other parent carer networks. Lead by a committee, steering group or directors, usually all parent carers. Parent representatives on a strategic group. Listening to a wide range of views, ideas and experiences from all parents, which is why you need such a diverse membership, really. Representing parents' views at the local authority level and working quite strategically, and working of ways to find or bring about change, and building up two-way conversation with individuals within a variety of organisations.
It's equally as important, though, to understand what a forum isn't. So forums are funded by the DFE, but they're not funded to provide one-to-one support for individual families, and that's where the support groups come in. It's not a service that offers and attends meetings with families. Each area should have a SENDIAS service which provides that, and that's what they're there for. And campaigning. There's nothing wrong with campaigning, but it's not the role of the forum to do that. There are groups and larger organisations like Contact who are there to do that work. The Parent Care Forum's main role is to promote and facilitate participation and co-production. It's about getting parent carers' voices heard, to advise on local, regional and national opportunities to do that. Local authorities and clinical commissioning groups need to understand that parent participation is vital to ensure they use their ever-decreasing budgets effectively, and it's important that forums help them to understand this. Having heard from Adele and what the support group can be, there are definitely commonalities between forums and groups. So let's go on to the next slide.
It would be fair to say that there are commonalities between forums and support groups, and this is what we have identified. So, forums and support groups have the same aims and purpose, and by that we mean that families' welfare is at the root of their offer. Forums and support groups are parent-led, mainly led by parents or carers, though some do have paid workers to help run them. Both have parent committees. Parents generally make up the bulk of the committees or steering groups, but it is not uncommon to have external help when it comes to looking after finances. Both forums and support groups work and network with a range of stakeholders. Anyone offering a service is a stakeholder. We are stakeholders. There is an offer of and a wealth of shared expertise amongst parents, and all parents can bring a level of expertise to the table through the healthcare and education system that our children access. There are problems though, and generally that's finding active parents to actually come to our forums and groups, and there can also be a lack of clear information from both groups and forums as to where, why and who they are, what their purpose is. Can I just make a note at this point and say lots of support groups do actually call themselves a forum, which can be a little confusing. Bear in mind when asking parents if they know about their parent carer forum, as they might think you are meaning the local carers group or the sports association forum, for example. It's easy to assume that parents understand who their forum is in the area they live. So let's just get a bit more perspective from this on the next slide.
Okay, so this visual shows how we represent parents and support group networks. The important people here are the parents and carers we represent, and the support groups give rise to a great opportunity in capturing the voices of many parent carers and their families. So support groups and forums work together in co-production to strengthen, sustain and support each other's work, not only locally but regionally and nationally too. And it's really important that we capture such a wide range of feedback even from those groups that aren't pan disability, because it's important feedback that we feed back through our group, through into our regional work, and then back up through nationally.
So here in Somerset, we run 2 sessions a year where all support groups can get together to share information from their members about the experiences they're having, which we then feed back to the local authority, Department of Education, Social Care, Health, such as CCGs, hospitals, community trust, commissioners and other service providers. Often we have visitors from these areas so that they can hear from these groups firsthand. We also have invested time in visiting support groups and creating groups to affiliate ourselves with, and in doing so we have built up multiple groups in Somerset, but you'll hear more about this later in the webinar.
So the following are excerpts of the definition of co-production from the National Network of Parent Care Forum Handbook. So co-production is about trust, and then the parent carer thought here, and built upon transparency, open communication, equal value being given to each participant's contribution. It is an approach which builds upon meaningful participation and assumes effective consultation and information sharing. Parent carers are not just there just to illustrate the experiences of service users, but rather to take responsibility to help shape future experiences and be part of an active part of delivering the solutions.
So in line with that, our support group forum not only collects information, but also feeds information back down to those support groups, which they in turn can share with their members. And that's about any changes that are happening locally or nationally that we're aware of, and any of the work that the forum is actually doing at that time. Sometimes, however, it's not always plain sailing, and not all support groups want to engage with their forum. So how do we make this happen?
So what stops groups engaging with their forum? Sometimes it can be the style or the approach of forum leaders, and it's vital to be inclusive in the development of the forum. Do parents think you are fighting just for yourself and your child and not the interests of all parents? Are you coming across as a gatekeeper, which Adele touched on a previous slide? It will help to create a trusting and nurturing forum that people want to be part of.
Sometimes it's really good just to take stock and actually think about how the forum is being viewed from outside of your own committee. Sometimes we're just so busy doing, and I think all of us are guilty of this, that we just don't take the time to reflect, but we really need to make sure that we do plan to do that. What unconscious messages do people pick up on, and how does this impact on public perception of the forum? For example, is your forum resistant to change and new ideas? Are forum members seen as being cliquey? Indeed, you may be up against support groups whereby the leader also is a gatekeeper. If you've had a change of committee, like we did, sometimes it's hard to make people see that there's a different way of working. So how are you getting that message out to them?
So do parents realise that they can be a member of their support group and your forum? Some support groups do not really have an understanding of what the forum is about. So how is your message getting out there? Are you too strategic for parents to understand you? Let's look at the next slide.
So support groups might not be interested by headlines such as "Help us shape and influence services," "Parent participation, come and have your voice heard," "Join a strategic committee, get involved." All those sentences can put people off because they feel that there's a large amount of work that they're going to have to do.
So how can we engage with some of our support groups? Let's go back to Adele to look at a bit closer.
I think there's just a little bit more on that last slide about how.
Yeah, okay, so some of the phrases that you could use.
Positive phrases that you could use to get them engaging.
Okay, so some of the positives that you could use instead would be, does your child have additional needs? Are you getting the support and help you need? Help us to make a difference. An opportunity to meet other parents, develop new skills and increase your job chances, learn about services and support available. And for us locally, one of the things that we highlight quite a lot is that you don't have to have a diagnosis to get involved.
So, forums, finding your groups. The beauty of using support groups is that you can reach many parents in one go. So if, for example, you do want to run a survey on the effectiveness of your continence service, then there is a chance you will find a family within a group of families. However, there could be barriers in not knowing where your groups are. And once you do find your groups, we need to ensure that the leader of the group is acting for the best interests of all members. Ensure there are a variety of ways for parents to contribute. Some parents will need to get to know you, like you, and trust you before they may be willing to commit to anything more than attending an event or receiving a newsletter. Firstly, use and seek what's already out there. We've got the local offer, we have carer centres, we've got national organisations such as Contact, and those all-important existing members. And so often when forums do go about a mapping exercise, they do forget their existing members when they're looking for new ones. So have a variety of ways for groups to communicate with you, such as face-to-face. No better way to align yourselves than face-to-face and getting to meet parents personally. Can you visit groups in schools? Do you have capacity? And when I mean schools, the mainstream as well as the special schools, because too often parents and we don't actually go and meet the parents at mainstream schools. We tend to only think about the special schools. So could you get along to the parents' evenings, for example, to showcase your service? Create an event to invite speakers, particularly speakers who have something topical for the parents you represent, such as on challenging behaviour. Workshops, maybe you could run workshops or run them with other professionals. Maybe you could offer something like participation training to empower your families. When are you meeting? What times do you meet as a forum? This can have a bearing on parents who work, for example. Publicity, how do you advertise yourself and get the word out? Something we have covered on about marketing yourself. And our best resource is our word of mouth. So tell everyone about yourselves. Use the professionals to help you promote your forum, as they are in contact with many parents too, and indeed they may run their own groups. Social media, we have many. Facebook is probably the most popular way of getting information out these days. Find out what other forums are doing and how they promote themselves and their activities. And as Tina said earlier, there's nothing better than the offer of a piece of lemon drizzle cake. So Tina, how did you find your groups in Somerset?
Okay, so the first thing we did was carried out a scoping exercise similar to what Adele's previously mentioned, to find out what groups were operating in Somerset. We needed to find out what was going to attract them to us and what their situation was. We discovered that some groups were struggling with capacity issues and that they were also struggling financially to purchase insurance, marketing, and because of their legal structure, there was no way of gaining funding. Some groups were being hit by venues who were suddenly asking the group to provide their own insurance.
So what we did is apply for a discretionary grant which covered the expenses of our forum volunteers to visit all the groups in Somerset. And this was carried out over an intense 3-month period. This had a knock-on effect and the forum membership grew by 50% during this time. We then followed this up by inviting all the support groups to the very first support group forum.
Our support group forum is an opportunity for all support groups to come together and talk about their experiences once every 6 months. We publicise the event well in advance and use a system called Eventbrite for groups to book a place. This enables us to plan the refreshments and any dietary requirements, because a light lunch is always good to have on when you finish discussions. It brings people in. We then use current priorities based on feedback from groups to plan the agenda and have guests come in and meet other groups. This is always a networking session, which for many groups don't get that opportunity otherwise.
So our last one, we had 30 people from across the county and different groups that attended the last group forum meeting. They fed back to their membership a variety of new information and took part in consultations about a booklet to help families that were going through the autism diagnosis process. We also had an opportunity to view and feedback on proposed dyslexia training for parents. We were joined by our transport department from the local authority as they wanted to get feedback on the experiences families had had going back to school this year.
So we're now going to talk something about those parents that are really hard to reach, and Ruth sort of touched on it basically earlier on, saying about how she struggles to get out and about to support groups. She prefers things online. Well, this is our online version, and it was started back in 2014 with just 10 members. We had some anxiety about running an online group as people have had negative experiences with social media, but it has worked well. And we now have over 580 with membership growing every day. We share some useful forum information at a family level, consultations, and a way to have voice heard. But most importantly, the group is about having downtime, so funny, relevant videos. Humour is really, really important, and I love sharing humorous videos on there. It just lifts the moment and the mood and just takes parents away from their current sort of caring responsibilities. This helps with our forum Facebook reach, which is currently 22,000 a month. We run all our consultations within this site too, but the most important thing is the peer-to-peer support. What it offers is actually knowing that you can ask what you think is a daft question. Well, really, there isn't a daft question to ask. And no matter what time of day you ask it, the reply always comes back. This is a lifeline for a rural county.
As Tina mentioned, Somerset is very rural. It's a large county and it will take us 3 hours to get from one point across to the other. So when we started, it would have been impossible for 6 people to cover the whole area and gather feedback from parents. So we decided to set up 2 systems. Firstly, umbrella groups that are able to benefit from our insurance, getting support with marketing and help finding venues. We'll also help with things like risk assessments. This is in return for submitting feedback from their groups on a monthly basis. They're also expected as part of that to attend 1 support group forum a year. Some groups we found didn't need this level of support if they've been established for a long time, for example. But it was really important to us still to have the feedback from their parent experiences and for us as a forum to be able to feed back to them and share what we were doing. The forum shares news, events, training and workshops with both umbrella groups and affiliated groups. Both types of groups are invited to our support group forum and are involved in our consultation. All groups get invited to training, workshops and events, and they help us by supporting with those consultations.
So, what's in it for you and groups? Well, let's summarise. Support groups can come under our umbrella. All they have to do is sign our working agreement and provide regular feedback and attend 1 support group forum meeting a year. Our support group forum package can help with this. We have insurance where our support groups can come under our umbrella and are covered by our public liability insurance. This is one of the reasons we started the affiliation scheme, allowing support groups to keep going despite having no funds for expensive insurances that they could not afford. They are still independent from us in that they organise their own support groups, but we can provide resources like booklets, leaflets or books, and all we request is regular feedback with them and be part of the forum that meets every 6 months.
The other option is an affiliated group. They attend our support group forum, where we gather feedback from their members about current issues in our local area. Whichever option support groups choose, they can be part of something bigger. Get their group publicised to our membership and through our social media feeds and newsletters, which is 860 members, and we reach 22,000 people a month with our social media. By publicising their event through our newsletters or social media, it increases their membership as well as ours.
So by groups joining us in whatever capacity, it enables the forum to share what it's all about to the support groups, letting us know what it has to offer without us doing all the legwork. After all, Somerset is a rural county. This is a more effective use of our time and manpower. It is written in the code that local authorities must engage with parent carer forums, parent carer organisations and groups. This is putting you, the forum, at the forefront and the orchestrator of gathering and collating information.
So really, it is a win-win. The support groups get more promotion, so does the forum. So to put this into context, we've now been using this model for over 2 years. Our membership has gone from 260 to 860 families. We've gone from 6 steering group members to 11, and our reps have gone from 6 to 18. So when we started, our forum, like many, was mainly families with children on the autistic spectrum, but the forum is now much wider, and this enables us to be much more representative of what's happening locally.
So, what else is on offer to help with your support groups? We attend a regroup workshop hosted by Adele at Contact.
So let me talk about my regroup workshops and about my offer to you, and explain the workshop model that has been designed with you in mind. These regroup workshops have been created for support groups to network together and understand what is in their area and how they can be helped and supported. By co-hosting one of these workshops, you will gain an overview of the range of support groups and what their membership looks like. Hosting a workshop with Contact in order to network with the support groups in your area offers great opportunities for finding out more about groups at a grassroots level, and ultimately they know and get to know more about yourself. You may have an idea now as to how you go about inviting your groups, as we've covered this during our section Finding Your Groups. The workshop offers the opportunity to realise the diversity of groups within your area or not, and to identify the gaps of support. Also, to support the groups in thinking about how they are attracting members to their groups and how to keep them there. We touched on publicity, for example, as one of the challenges that the support group faces in a recent slide, and I've spent many hours on this one in my workshops. It's a great exercise on sharing with and learning from others. Feedback from these workshops has stated that groups come away inspired by others and want to meet again. If you have the time and resources to host a workshop, it reinforces your connection with one another and, more importantly, increases your membership and raises awareness about you and your forum. The workshops facilitated by me, speakers are invited according to need, and you, the forum, has the opportunity of talking about your duty. The session generally runs from 10 till 2 and includes lunch. Prices and further information on the workshops can be found on the Contact website or by contacting me direct. Contact ran a workshop in Wincanton in Somerset back in 2015, and three parents joined the forum steering group as a result of that workshop. Following on from that, we also have a suite of guides that we are constantly updating and working on as a result of our involvement with support groups. All these packs can be downloaded from the website, and you'll see on that slide there is a list of some of the titles we have, from developing your group, publicity, and legal structures. Furthermore, as dedicated support groups manager here at Contact, I oversee the running of the many facets that make up the running of a support group. We have just designed and launched our own affiliation scheme, and I encourage you to share our site with your support groups, particularly our online community, where groups can look out for those frequently asked questions on running a group, and hopefully will find the answers. This new service is in its infancy, and the more groups that engage with the site, the better our supporting network will become.
Our support group pack contains all you need should groups wish to affiliate with you as a forum or become a Finding Your Way support group. Some forums have already requested this, and if you would like a pack, then please email us and we'll gladly send this document to you. You can also check our website for more information.
Okay, so just to really sum up what we've been discussing about, this slide really sums it up. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I may learn. And I think that really sums up this webinar.
Thank you for attending today. A short questionnaire will launch at the end of this webinar, so please take the time to complete this, as it will help us plan future online training events, including other topics you'd like to see. The recording of this webinar, presentation and questions will be on the Parent Participation Resources page of Contact's website next week. An email confirming this will be sent to you once this is available.
We have had one question come in, which was, how did you fund the actual regrouping session? I think that's a good question. So do you want me, happy for you to answer that? Okay, so what you can do to fund that session is actually use your discretionary grant. I think the fact that we can now apply for discretionary grants earlier in the year makes that much easier to do, and that will cover the cost for Adele to come in, and also you can apply for things like food, etc. To do that. So that's one way of doing it.
I don't think there's any other
questions.
I think the important thing is, I think there's, when we started off with our forum, and it was, you know, the membership was so low and we didn't have a true representation in the area, and you know, the reputation of the forum was that we were quite insular. So I do want to say that, you know, have a look around what's in your local area, see what's about, you know, be brave, go and have a look, and just go as a parent. You don't even have to go as a forum member, really, and just have a look and see what other people are offering, because actually you could tap into a market very, very easily. You know, we did it when we started out. We didn't think we would. We didn't think we'd get the membership we have, and year on year our membership increase is about 70%. So, you know, it is really, really important. And, you know, two and a half years ago, we've gone from 260 members now to nearly 900. And that's just an astonishing amount. And I am really passionate about our online group, because the loveliness about the group. We have very, very little issues. To put it into context, in the years that we've had it since 2014, we've literally removed about 5 posts from that group, because we have a very strict policy of no naming, no shaming, and you know, the content has to be right for everybody, and you know, some things that people put on weren't, but that is the real minority of what's on there. So the majority of the group love it. I'm getting about 30 requests every sort of couple of weeks. So, you know, we do get quite a lot of requests. And also, which we haven't touched on in the support group online, is that we do have an admin person that sort of mediates and looks at the posts that have been put on there, and it's called an admin. So it's not a person that can be sort of identified within the group. It is a generic admin person, and it's just one way of sort of looking at the posts that are being posted on the group. But people love it, people like it, want to be part of it all the time. So it's a really good aspect of the support group side of things that people may not have even thought of before.
So another question that's come in is from Kate, and Kate's interested to know about how the sharing of the insurance works. So we pay quite substantially for our insurance as a forum, and one of the things that our local authority insisted was that we took out a public indemnity insurance as well. So we are covered for events, but we're also covered for any information that's given out during those sessions. We had a very open conversation with our insurance company early on and explained that this is what we had been doing with our previous insurance company, and they were happy for that. Basically, if a group is coming under our insurance, then we do make sure that we do a risk assessment so that we're covering ourselves, and they have a copy of the insurance policy details, a certificate, so that they're covered. But Kate, we're happy to talk in more detail if you want to contact us, that's fine.
And we've also had another question about if forums have underspends and are interested in regroup sessions, that they can contact their advisor. So you should know who your contact advisor is in your area. And if you have or you're starting to realise you're going to have an underspend, and you want to spend the money before the end of March, like a lot of forums seem to do, they suddenly panic and think, oh my goodness, we need to do this. Speak to your advisor and they'll be able to say to you about the regroup sessions, having participated in one ourselves, we were at Wincanton in 2015. It was an amazing experience, and that's sort of what prompted us really to do what we were doing. There was a few groups there, and we managed to have a chat, and they signed up to the forum there and then. So it is worth doing.
Just a practical note, Tina, around the support group online forum, can
Yes.
you just explain a little bit maybe around the questions that are set up to members?
Okay, so we do have a screening of our members that want to join Finding Your Way. They can't just drop in, they have to request to join. Even those that are within the group that think that their friends could benefit from it, they still have to add them in. But again, there's questions that come up, and the questions are very, very simple. We just say that, you know, hello, you've requested to join Finding Your Way support groups. Can I please ask, you know, what conditions you think that your child has? Because again, it's not diagnosis driven, it is about need. We know that lots of parents may think that their child has got a condition, or even school might have said to parents, do you think that your child might be dyslexic, or we think your child might be on the autistic spectrum. We get that quite a lot. So what we want to do is prepare parents and give parents support before the event or during the diagnosis. So it's just a quick question, they reply back, and then we follow up the questions with a message from our generic admin person, just to find out a bit more about them. And then we introduce them to we say that we're going to add them into the group, and we always tell them to go and read the pinned post, which has got our rules and regulations for the group. We then add them in, and then our generic admin person then welcomes them to the group, and it just goes on from there very quickly. It's not very time consuming, if I'm honest. We've got mobile devices that do it, so you know, we can do it from a mobile phone, we can do it from a tablet or a you know, like a laptop, and you know, like I say, we get requests a lot because word has got out, and that's what you need really. So yes, I'm very passionate about our group.
I think it's really important as well to say there is nothing wrong with saying no to people on your support group either. So we have quite a strong thing that we don't have any service providers on our group. The reason being is if a service provider comes to a coffee morning, you can see they're there, but you can't actually do that online. And because we have nearly 600 members online, it's difficult to know who is actually tapping into what you're saying. So we have a strict rule, and we don't allow any of the service providers to be on the page. It's purely for parents. And
we've also had people who have, you know, that work in the field that try and sell products too, that try and join the group, and it's always a no there as well. And if they're both, say if they're parent carer and they work in services, or they provide a product, we say if that's fine, you can join, but if you want to advertise your work and business, you send it to the forum and we advertise it that way than you doing it yourselves. So it's sort of, it's not strict at all. People do talk about stuff on there quite freely, but you know, like I said, we've got a no naming and shaming policy because there's no right to reply, which is why our generic admin person is there, so they can sort of mediate with any situation that arises. And to be honest, it's not used very often because the rules that are set out in the group are very, very clear. And so people do have an understanding of that before they even begin to use the group properly. Have we got any more questions? Have we stunned people?
I think we have, yes.
So we can breathe now. I know we're still online, but we can breathe. Have you got anything to say, Adele? No. Adele's saying no. I hope that we've answered your questions, but you know, equally, you know, fill the questionnaire in at the end, and if you want to email us at any point, then just email in and we'll gladly answer any questions.
Yeah, and the full details of the support group package is now on our website, so if you go in and look under our projects, you'll be able to find it on there, and it will give you the details whether you're a forum that's interested in setting up something similar in your area, or whether you are a support group and you're looking at doing that. And if you are from a support group and this package isn't available in your area, approach your forum and talk to them about it if it's something that you think would benefit both of you. Okay, I think that's it for questions. So I think we're going to round up now and say again, thank you for attending today. And as Adele's already mentioned, you will, Tina, you will get a short questionnaire at the end. And then this will be going live on the website within sort of the next week. Thank you.